Now, The Hunt Palmer Show. You are now listening to The Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Rouse's Supermarkets on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Locking down the middle of the day. Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studios. This is Hunt Palmer.
Welcome in. Hunt Palmer coming to you from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studio downtown in the capital city on this Thursday. Means we're brought to you by Rouse's Markets and fired up to be here as we start working towards the weekend. A busy one here in South Louisiana. We'll have LSU baseball starting tomorrow. We'll have LSU hoops in South Carolina. So plenty to get to as we work towards that weekend. Luke Johnson with us talking Saints here in 15 minutes. Joe Healy from SEC Extra, part of the D1 baseball squad, going to be with us at 1:30 in his normal slot to kind of get ready for the SEC weekend to come. I've got at the top of hour number 2 my bold predictions for this baseball season. We always kind of keep track of those as things progress, so we'll be sure to mark the tape on those. And Chris Blair with us at 2:15 talking some basketball as well as a little bit of baseball. But I will start with LSU baseball. As we talked about yesterday on the show, Jay Johnson was meeting with the media at 3 o'clock. So right when we get off the air, Jay met with the media, and he did have a few things to share. He did set the weekend rotation, which you're all aware of. It'll be Thatcher Hurd and Luke Holman. I'll talk about that a little bit on tomorrow's show as we get ready for the opener. But there were a couple of different bites that I wanted to get to that stood out to me. The first was asking about the injury situation. Jay said, yeah, everybody's ready to go. And then he was pressed a little bit, and Koki Riley, who was with us yesterday, said he would do so. And he said, what about Gage Jump? What is the situation with the sophomore left-hander from UCLA, and why maybe hasn't he pitched as much in preseason scrimmages over the last couple of weeks?
We get players ready for the season in different ways sometimes. That's what we're doing. And, you know, coming off the history, we're always going to take care of the players. And that's what we're doing right now. He'll be just fine.
I'm not fluent in Jay Johnson yet. I don't need a translator, so I can visit the land and kind of get around. I can't be a translator, but I've got an idea, and I want to add the caveat here. When I listen to that answer, I don't have any inside information here. Not checking with sources. I have told y'all in the past, over the last year and a half, like, I can dig a little bit with the baseball program, find some things out, see how things are going, practice, whatnot. Injuries is where it stops cold. There's just not going to be a lot that comes out of there from an injury front. And I think y'all all realize that. And I think based on the fact that LSU won a national championship last year, nobody really cares how Jay Johnson handles much of anything. You just blindly follow because he won, and that's fine with me. I've always said, like, winning is the most important thing. I'm sure some of you would like to know exactly what's going on with Gage Jump, and Jay's not going to give that up. I'll just tell you, without any inside information, when I hear that answer, it sounds like they're taking this really slow. I can't tell you there's been a flare-up of the elbow. I can't tell you whether he tweaked something at practice. I can't tell you whether I don't know the answer. I think Gage Jump is being taken along very slowly right now. So would it surprise me if he did not pitch in any of the 4 games this weekend? It would not. Would it surprise me if he started Game 3 on Sunday? It would not. Would it surprise me if he threw 101 pitches? I'd be stunned. Where I'm sitting right now, I think it's likely that Gage Jump is not 100% ready to roll. I don't think he's ready to go back under the knife, and I think they'll just kind of progress it. And there's absolutely no sense in taking what has been communicated to me as potentially the best pitcher on this staff and pushing him out there too quickly when he just missed all of last baseball season. If he doesn't throw his first pitch until 3 weeks from now, fine. Fine. If he throws his first pitch on Sunday, that's great. But it feels like, based on that answer, which was not he's good to go, or you'll see him on Sunday, or we're going to see, what situation best presents himself to get him in there, or any of that stuff. It was, we're just kind of looking out for what's best in the player and taking things slowly based on the history. That tells me, okay, it's not 100% perfect, but I would be shocked if there was super cause for concern. That's where I am, just trying to read the room, read the context clues, and lay it out there as best I can with the way that Jay has handled injuries in the past. So that's your look at Gage Jump. The other answer that he gave, I think it painted a picture to me, and we're talking about Stephen Milam here, of a guy that has come on very, very strong in the spring. Jay said yesterday that 4 or 5 guys have really made a push since Christmas, and that they may have more options than he originally thought. And so he was asked about Stephen Milam, and he gave this. It's a longer bite, but I want to elaborate on it a little bit more. So this is what he said about the freshman infielder.
Well, he's a really good player, and we wouldn't have brought him here if he wasn't a really good player. And sometimes it just takes a little bit. And here's what I would tell you is high school baseball in Las Cruces, New Mexico, you're not facing Luke Holman, Thatcher Hurd, Gage Jump, Nate Ackenhausen. And, I mean, that can be smothering. And then you're dealing with that caliber of pitching and then learning how to deal with a little bit of adversity and failure. And then you're practicing more than you ever have in your life. I mean, he legitimately said to us, like, gosh, coach, now I know why we're good. Like, I mean, so, and then school. And so, like, you're plugging, and this is for all freshmen, you're plugging them into this environment that they have no way to be prepared for when they show up here. But at the end of the day, he's a really good player. And so I'd never, like, doubted any of that. I laid out on a 8.5 by 11 sheet of what he needs to do to be the best player he can be and positively affect our team, and literally came back, and he is checking all of those boxes. And so super pumped to have him here for the next 3 years.
That indicates to me that he's one of the guys that Jay's talking about that has made a significant jump in the last 5 weeks. And so it would surprise me personally if Stephen Milam was not in the starting lineup for one of the games this weekend. There's 4 of them. That's not like some bold prediction, hot take. There's 4 games, but it would surprise me if he didn't start one of them, and I think it would be at second base. There are some moving pieces with this LSU baseball lineup, and they're not at catcher, where there are 3 guys that are going to play there. They're not at third or short, where you're kind of locked in. And I think right now, Kling and Bingham are going to play in the outfield. But if you look at first base, second base, and one of the outfield spots, I think there are a lot of different combinations that work. And if you don't like Pearson's defense at second, well, Milam may be better at that. If Jared Jones can't make as much contact as you might like, maybe Jake Brown comes in from the outfield, plays first base. That sends Pearson from second to the outfield and puts Milam in there at second base. And then there are some other situations where Brown doesn't play and he can't hit, and so you put Pearson in the back there and put Milam at second base. But all those shifting pieces there between Jones and Pearson and Milam and Brown, with potentially Ethan Fry in that mix as well, I think there's a chance Stephen Milam can break through here. He was very much a draft risk, and I believe if he was 6'2", he would not be at LSU. He's a switch-hitting middle infielder with some power, but he's 5'7", not as draftable. So he's in college. And I really think, based on some of the things that you hear and then listening to the press conference where Jay says there are like 4 guys that have taken huge steps, and then he elaborates on Milam when pressed and talks about how he's checking all of these boxes, well, you start to think that's one of the guys they're looking at. And it makes sense because he, along with probably Ashton Larson, are the 2 biggest names in this signing class. But as we've talked about, freshmen have a hard time getting to the field in the transfer portal era because you're bringing in a bunch of 20-year-olds and 21-year-olds. Michael Braswell's been facing Luke Holman's and Thatcher Hurd's for 2 years. Josh Pearson's been facing Luke Holman's and Thatcher Hurd's for 2 years. Mac Bingham's been facing these guys for 4 years. So they're the guys that are going to get to the field really quickly. And it's going to take Stephen Milam a little bit more time. It's going to take Ashton Larson a little bit more time. It's going to take Derek Mitchell a little bit more time, and potentially Jake Brown a little bit more time. So I'm starting to feel like, and we'll get to my bold predictions in an hour, about some of the things I feel like, but one of them is going to revolve around second base and the insertion of Stephen Milam that I think is very potentially going to happen. I wouldn't say it's likely. I wouldn't say you can lock it in. It's just something that I feel like is swelling up a little bit. And if you're a football guy that's kind of molding into baseball season here, that kind of feels like the Lance Hurd deal, where it looked like they were grooming him to be the right tackle and kick Emory Jones down and pull Miles Frazier out of the lineup, and that never materialized. And sometimes it doesn't because the old guys hold down the battle stations. And maybe Pearson holds down that battle station and Jerry Jones holds down the battle station. But it's encouraging that some of the young guys are creating some more options, because that's really what you're looking for with this LSU offense. Not everybody has to live up to their hype. You don't have to have Jared Jones and Ethan Fry and Hayden Travinsky and Stephen Milam and Josh Pearson and Mac Bingham and Ashton Larson and Jake Brown all live up to the hype. You just need 4 of them. That's 8 guys I listed, 4 of them. Because you've already got catcher and you've already got third base and you've already got shortstop and you've already, so you're just trying to create enough options to where you've got the right guys when crunch time comes. And I'm not telling you Stephen Milam's one of them. I just feel like there's a real possibility that he could be. It's a good thing to have a lot of options. LSU as deep a team as there is in college baseball, and that's a good thing. I can't wait to get out there tomorrow. As we've talked about for the last couple of weeks, you probably know by now. First pitch at 2 o'clock tomorrow. We'll be broadcasting the Hunt Palmer Show from noon to 2 tomorrow. Already locked in a fun guest list. We're going to have Cade Beloso on the show. We're going to have LSU Director of Development and Video Coordinator Jamie Tutko on the show. Doug Thompson's going to come over and grab a headset before he's on the call for the game. So excited to have Doug. Who else have we got? I've got Tutko, Doug Thompson, Beloso, and Demui. And Demui's going to come on as well. That's correct. So fired up about having all those folks on for a big baseball show tomorrow. We're going to be wall-to-wall baseball unless there's some sort of breaking news we have to get to. But if you're headed out to the box tomorrow for opening day at 2 o'clock, come on out and see us. We'll be right outside. It looks like from the diagram that I saw, I haven't seen the trailer yet, but it looks like we're going to be right outside where the third base dugout is down the line there near Championship Plaza where they're doing a Fan Fest deal. It's going to be a ton of fun. Hopefully the weather holds out, but I'm looking very much forward to that. So come and check us out tomorrow. Our Thursday show is brought to you by Rouse's. We'll come back with Luke Johnson. The Saints just hired a running game coordinator. We'll talk about it next.
You are now listening to the Hunt Palmer Show.
ESPN Bet's now live in Louisiana as the official sportsbook of ESPN. ESPN Bet's the only place to find daily exclusives and offers with your favorite ESPN personalities and shows. Sign up today, and new users get $100 in bonus bets for making any sportsbook bet. Find all your favorite markets and bets like in-game wagering, cross-sport parlays, teasers, and all the props that you can handle. That's ESPN Bet. Download today. What a play. Must be 21 or older. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-522-4700 in partnership with LeBears Lake Charles. Terms and conditions apply. See the app for details.
In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com.
Elevate brand visibility, ignite customer engagement with the power of radio and digital advertising combined. Guarantee Digital Media brings the two together as a trusted media partner in Louisiana for nearly a century. Claim your free digital audit at guaranteemedia.com.
Join MMR and ignite your career today. MMR is the largest electrical and instrumentation contractor in the nation, and they're seeking talented individuals to join their team. For over 3 decades, they've been headquartered right here in Baton Rouge, and they have offices all around the globe.
And MMR offers a tailored path for both professional and personal development, outstanding benefits, and a dynamic culture. So whether you're an intern, a seasoned pro, or you're just starting out, see what MMR can offer you. Apply at mmrgrp.com.
IU Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram is taking $17,500 off new 23 1500 Bighorn trucks. We're open for business in our beautiful new showroom and taking $17,500 off new Ram 1500 trucks. All new Bayou vehicles come with a 1 million mile warranty. The crew at Bayou Automotive is going to do right by you.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs. Even in the case of an after-hours emergency, the light in your life shines brighter with Mr. Electric.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
Breck teamed up to reimagine your parks, and you imagined big. With your help, we went to work, creating 12 beautiful community parks across the parish. A family-sized water park, miles and miles of trails, and parks just for your dogs. There are more places to splash, to explore, to run wild, and even soar. You imagined, we delivered. Gold. Breck, your #1 park system in the nation.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded.
Join me for the Thursday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show, presented by Rouse's. Joe Healy from D1 Baseball talking SEC baseball. Chris Blair talking some hoops. And my LSU baseball predictions. Hunt Palmer Show, 1 to 3 weekdays, 104.5 ESPN, Baton Rouge.
You are listening to The Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Rouse's Supermarkets.
Thursday edition always brought to you by Rouse's, the official supermarket of the New Orleans Saints. Saints season long in the rearview mirror, as is the entirety of the NFL season with the Super Bowl now behind us. But the NFL news cycle never really stops. That means Luke Johnson never really gets to stop. He's Saints reporter, always with us on Thursdays, joins us now on the Jim's Firearms Hotline. Luke, how are you, sir?
I'm great, man. Thankfully, I did get to stop on Mardi Gras Tuesday, experience festivities, have a beer or two. Saints did not announce an official hire at that point, so I was very grateful for that. I'm ready to go. I'm ready to talk some news, man.
There was a little news today as the Saints hired Rick Dennison to be their running game coordinator. Dennison been with the Vikings since 2019. I would presume his paths crossed with Clint Kubiak there. So your thoughts when you heard that name to that position?
Yeah, I think it's been kind of an interesting assemblage of this coaching staff for Clint Kubiak. I think he's got a nice mix of experienced coaches like Dennison, who was, he was a part of those Broncos staffs in the 90s that won the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Mix of that with some kind of young up-and-comers. Derek Kelly, the running backs coach, not Derek Kelly, Derek Foster. He's 3 years of NFL experience. The quarterback's coach, Andrew Janocko, is 36 years old, just like Clint Kubiak. But then you talk about Dennison, who's been in the league forever. John Benton, who I've reported they haven't officially hired him yet, but that's in the works. He's got 20-some years of NFL coaching experience. So, look, they're going to have some new ideas. They're probably going to incorporate some of this 49ers offense, which is a more modern version of what they have been running for a long time. But I think it's smart of Kubiak to get some guys who have some skins on the wall. And I kind of like the way the staff is coming together.
Saints last year, second to last in the NFL in yards per carry on the ground. It was just a bad effort running the football. What can be done to help remedy that?
Well, I think two things. I don't think the rushing numbers last year were indicative of who the players were in the building. And I'm talking specifically the running backs. I think if you would have plugged Alvin Kamara into the Miami Dolphins scheme and their team, he would have probably averaged 5+ yards per carry. I think the same thing goes for Jamal Williams and Kendra Miller. They're better than what we saw last year. I think their offensive line play was not nearly good enough, and I don't think the scheme was good enough. So I think they have made the improvement in the scheme. We'll see what they exactly run, but 49ers rushing attack has been one of the best in the NFL for a long time. And obviously Clint Kubiak, he's heavily influenced by his father, who really kind of modernized and revolutionized the NFL rushing attacks across the league. And we're talking about a couple of really experienced offensive line coaches. So I think that's going to take a jump next year, no matter who's running the ball. I think it's really not saying much, though. They've got a long way to go. So even a little bit is going to be a big improvement. I think it's going to help everything else in this offense.
You mentioned no matter who's running the ball, who do you think will be running the ball?
A really good question.
Yeah.
I don't think it's like for certain that Alvin Kamara will be back next year. I certainly expect it as of right now, but it wouldn't be a surprise if they moved on from him. And I think if they do that, it's going to be a very unpopular move because of the fact that he's a running back that's approaching 30 years old, and he has not been hugely productive the last couple of years, and he's got a big contract. Those players are hard to move. If they do, for instance, trade him, which is really the most likely outcome, if we're talking about him not being on the team, the return is probably not going to be great. So that's a long-winded way of saying I don't know. I do think that Kendra Miller will feature heavily in the rushing attack next year, but his lone year in the NFL, he battled injury problems. I mean, you can't just go into a season with one guy as your guy. Like, you have to have a couple options there.
How likely is it that Andrus Peat is the left tackle on this team next year?
I'm going to go like 50-50 on that. I think it would benefit the Saints to bring him back just in terms of his contract. If they let him walk, you're talking about like a $13-point-something million dead cap hit next year. But that's obviously, it takes kind of two sides to go there. Andrus Peat's going to want to have to come back. If he wants to test the market, there's really little they can do about that. I don't know exactly what kind of market there is for him out there. But I do think that it would benefit the Saints to at least approach that and give them the opportunity to either play Andrus Peat or let Trevor Penning develop, under some kind of new eyes with the offensive line coaching staff.
How do you feel about that?
I mean, I don't feel great about it,
yeah.
Right? I think like you obviously went into last season really hoping that Penning's potential would really shine through. We didn't really see much at all of him in his rookie season. So you just kind of had to go off the measurables and the intangibles that you thought were there, but there were obviously some big technical deficiencies that he had. So look, I think that this is a really important offseason for him. It's really his first offseason in an NFL program. We've seen players take a big jump when they get this. I think it happened with Cesar Ruiz. But like, it's the first time where he doesn't have to rehab, he doesn't have to train for the combine and all that other stuff. He can just focus on the technical aspects of the game. So I think it's certainly possible that with like a new coaching staff, we'll see like a good, dependable version of Trevor Penning. But like, until you actually see that, you don't know it's going to be there, because he really struggled last year to the point where they didn't even want to put him in the game. So like, I don't think if you're the Saints, you can just go into the season like being like, yeah, Penning's our guy, we're going to count on him. Like, you just can't. It's a situation they cannot be in this year.
I can pretty simply explain why Trevor Penning didn't play very well. Well, he's never played well in the NFL. I can explain why Ryan Ramczyk didn't play very well. He's been hurt for a couple of years. I have a little bit more trouble with the Cesar Ruiz performance this year. What did you make of it?
I thought it was fine. It definitely wasn't up to the level that he played at in 22, when I think he made a pretty big leap. But I don't think he was as bad as his rookie season. That's not exactly what you want to hear either, right? You just signed him to a big extension, where he's probably like I think top 6 or 7 guard in terms of salary. You want him playing at or near a Pro Bowl level. But again, I think you can look at this entire offensive line, even a guy like Eric McCoy, who I think is a very good player, who just was named to the Pro Bowl as an alternate. I think he took a step back this year, and I think if you look at just the play kind of across the board, it just wasn't good enough, and that's why we're seeing Doug Marrone not on the team anymore. I think the talent is clearly there with that unit. There's big questions about Ramczyk and big questions about Penning, but I think those two young guys in McCoy and Ruiz who we have locked up, and I think James Hurst played solid. There's stuff there to work with. If you've got good offensive line coaches who can maximize that talent, I think you feel okay about it, but you don't feel like 100% confident. And I think they're going to have to address it personnel-wise this offseason. Like they're going to have to give themselves some option there.
When does this salary cap shakedown start traditionally in New Orleans, and what are the first couple of steps there so that they can move forward?
I mean, I'm anticipating some moves to start happening very soon here. I mean, we're less than a month out from the start of the league year. They've still got $80+ million to clear just to be compliant with the salary cap, let alone giving themselves enough space to make a move or two. So I would fully anticipate that within the next several days, next week, we'll start seeing them news trickle out where the Saints restructure X and the Saints restructure Y and save themselves $15 million against the cap. As far as like the other stuff with like trades and things like that, I think it's going to take a little bit longer to materialize if indeed it does. But they've got to get started on this. And I'm sure they have a plan, with all the guys they want to restructure, and they don't really have to go to the guys. They have it just like baked into their contracts where they can kind of do it at will. They probably have a list of guys they're ready to do it with. It's just kind of a matter of actually starting it now.
This is a big question, probably not the best one to finish on, but optimism reigns supreme in August. We know that, and there was very little of that in December and into January with the New Orleans Saints. Where do you think that's going to come from in the next 6-8 months? As far as they add a couple of really nice pieces in free agency, it's just because they've got a new offensive coordinator. Like, what change from Christmas to August is going to create some of that optimism?
Yeah, I was actually kind of thinking about this a little bit today because I was like bound and determined not to pick the Saints with a winning record next year.
Yeah.
After the last 2 years, or picking them to win 10 or 11 games, they've just kind of gotten close to that, but not really. The vibes were terrible around that record. Yep. But I think the Kubiak hire and some of the names he's bringing in on his coaching staff, I think should inspire a little optimism, like a little spark a bit. We'll see what happens with how they handle this roster. I think they could have some tough PR sells if they have to move on from some of these players, or if they let Michael Thomas walk. Michael Thomas, for all the disappointments of the last couple of years and all the crazy social media stuff, is still very popular with a pretty big segment of the fan base. And we're talking about players who, like, 60% of the stadium is filled with their jerseys, and some of these guys might be on their way out. And they were cornerstone players of this big successful run, but like, I think they have to do some retooling of this roster, both from a talent standpoint and just from, like we talked about after the season, from a culture standpoint, and to get it where they want to be. So I don't know if it's like these moves are going to inspire a lot of confidence and optimism within the fan base, but I do think that the reset on the coaching staff and kind of taking this thing in a new direction should inspire a little bit. And we'll kind of see what happens and how they fill it out from there.
We sure will. We'll talk next week. Thanks, Luke.
Thanks, man.
Luke Johnson, Saints beat reporter for The Advocate and Times-Picayune, always with us on Thursdays talking Saints. It's that'll be something we can look into over the next few weeks. It's like, what could happen here that are going to generate that August optimism? It always shows up. It's just hard to see from deep in the bowels of February here, but we'll figure it out. When we come back, let's talk some baseball with Joe Healy from D1 Baseball. That's next.
The Hunt Palmer Show. Our listeners fire off their opinions on the jimsfirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the jimsfirearms.net hotline on 1045 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Gulf Coast Bank and Trust is giving our customers the power to bank anywhere, anytime during this challenging event. And we're right there with you. Our mobile banking app is a smart way to manage your money and time. Gulf Coast Bank and Trust, the bank that cares about you.
Bayou Ford has new 23 Ford F-150 STX trucks for only $39,995. $39,995 plus 1.9% financing for 72 months. And all new Bayou Ford vehicles come with a 1 million mile warranty. The crew at Bayou Ford is going to do right by you.
It was a humid day, barefoot children play, looking for that summer shade. Time to slip away. Oh, Louisiana, some kind of hold on me. Like cypress stumps, your roots are planted deep inside of me.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona. For years, you've heard me tell you about Insurance Network of Louisiana, helping you find better coverage for less money. But it's not just for your home and auto. They also offer commercial properties. So, retail stores, professional offices like doctors, dentists, attorneys, clothing boutiques. Insurance Network of Louisiana can find you better coverage for less money. They service the entire state of Louisiana, and they're local. So call today at 293-0450 or lainsurance.net.
Yo, Jake here from my friends over at Community Steel Company located in Gonzales, Louisiana. The local place you can turn to for all of your metal building needs. Notice I said local, not Houston, not Dallas, not Atlanta, but right here in Gonzales. Visit them at their brand new state-of-the-art website at communitysteelco.com or pick up the phone and give them a call today to answer all of your questions on your metal buildings, roofing and sheet metal, and any other steel needs you or your business need at 225-647-2020.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary, for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Breck teamed up to reimagine your parks, and you imagined big. With your help, we went to work, creating 12 beautiful community parks across the parish. A family-sized water park, miles and miles of trails, and parks just for your dogs. There are more places to splash, to explore, to run wild, and even soar. You imagine.
Moscona inviting you to join us for Thursday's AFR. We are 1 day away from opening day at the box. We will have your full season preview and prediction for the defending champs. Join us, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Rouse's Supermarkets.
As Matt just mentioned right there in his promo, he'll be doing a full season prediction and preview on his show later. I'm going to do the same thing in 25 minutes. I give you my how many bold? I got 4 bold predictions and then a season record preview that I'll give you. Last year, I only missed by 1 game, and it got rained out in South Carolina. If LSU would have played that game in Columbia and won it, I would have gotten it exactly right on the full season record and the regular season record.
That's
SEC
why people
record.
trust you, Hunt.
That's, I mean, just a true soothsayer. I'll probably get it exactly right again. That's how bright I am. Some guy that'll probably get it closer than me is Joe Healy with D1 Baseball, part of the SEC Extra Team with Mark Etheridge. Joe, thanks for joining us. It's about that time.
Indeed, it is. Sounds like you ought to start like one of those. Remember those old gambling hotlines on sports radio back in the day? Like I feel like you ought to start one of those with the seems like the heater you're on. Here.
Well, look, I don't know if I would call it a heater. We did every single SEC football game against the spread, and I went exactly one game over 500 for the entire season. So I think the jury's out. I'm incredibly mediocre at making gambling selections, but LSU was pretty good last year, and that was pretty easy to see coming. So I jumped on and got one right. So let's talk about this LSU team briefly before we get into the rest of the SEC on opening weekend. Yesterday it was announced Thatcher Hurd and Luke Holman would go 1-2 for LSU in a 4-game weekend for the Tigers. Not a huge surprise here. What are your thoughts on those two leading the way for the Tigers?
That's who you want out there, right? I mean, you've got Thatcher Hurd, who really came on strong last year and, proved himself after a frustrating regular season, just to put it mildly. But he showed up when it mattered most, and if he picks up where he left off, you're going to feel pretty good about that. And Luke Holman was a guy that we saw what he was capable of last year. We see the stuff being what it is, being pretty good. He was on Team USA over the summer. But I even got some more positive feedback on him in the fall and in the lead up to the season that, hey, like this guy's probably better than we're giving him credit for. He could be, pick your top handful of pitchers in the SEC. Like Holman very well could be in that group, which was not something I was necessarily hearing coming out of last summer. We knew he'd be good, but it seems to be there's optimism that he's actually going to be a little bit better than that, which would be obviously huge for LSU.
No question. I saw an interesting little coaches survey that The Athletic did leading up to the season. They surveyed like 7 or 8 head coaches around the country, and one of them was Tom Walter. And one of the questions they asked was, who's the best pitcher in the country? And Walter, who saw Holman in Game 1 of the Super, said, I think it might be the kid down at LSU, Luke Holman. I've watched that start a couple of times, especially when he entered the transfer portal and came to LSU, and he did strike a lot of guys out that day, but I was surprised to hear that from Walter.
Yeah, same. So I read that too. But I don't think that's nothing when you consider that, yeah, they saw him in the postseason, but I mean, Tom Walter's got a pretty good Rolodex. I mean, he was in Omaha, so he knows some of those guys that are coming back. So I do think that means something. Is it a little bit of recency bias? Maybe that's just a guy on the fly. He came up with that name. Sure, like that could be a factor there. But I do think it is notable that his name was thrown around kind of in that group.
What do you think Thatcher Hurd and Luke Holman kind of stack as a 1-2 in the SEC? I know things are pretty good in Fayetteville, Nashville, and Gainesville as well.
Yeah, I think it's probably right after that group, and it's really just because, look, if we're really going to nitpick it here, it's just that, okay, can Thatcher Hurd do what he did kind of at the very tail end of last season over a full season, and what does Luke Holman look like now that he's not this guy that nobody really had tape on midway through last year? Now they've got more or less a full season of tape on him. How does that affect him? So there are some questions there, but, I think Arkansas is probably number one with a bullet there, understandably. I mean, you go Hagen Smith, you go Brady Tigert, and then even Mason Molina. I mean, choose your 2 out of that 3, really. Vanderbilt can, just in terms of stuff, is going to stack up there pretty favorably. Tennessee's an interesting one. They're going with A.J. Russell on Friday against Texas Tech, Drew Beam too, and I think that's notable from the standpoint of, look, Beam's put in his time, right? It would have been really easy for that Tennessee coaching staff to say, you know what, like, let's just put him on Friday. The kid's earned it. Like, obviously he's good too. This is not a charity case. Like, but let's put him on Friday. He deserves it. He's the guy who we want to lead us into our season. And instead they're going with Russell, and he's a guy who pitched really well last year. And I think Tennessee might have actually maybe not known how good he was until we got to the meat of the season, because his role just kept getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. But it really wasn't until May that it involved him pitching on the weekends. Like, I don't think he pitched in an SEC game until, other than maybe one time, until May. And then by the time the postseason rolled around, he was one of their main guys. So it's a fastball 93 to 97. It's a wipeout breaking ball. And the question is going to be, can he do that over a full season? But man, if it clicks, and if what they seem to be telling us by putting him out there on Friday against Texas Tech is the case, like, that's going to be a formidable 1-2 as well.
Yeah, Tennessee is really the only team with noteworthy opponents this weekend. Texas Tech, Oklahoma, and Baylor over in Arlington. How big a weekend is this for the Vols? We know they got off to a bumpy start last year.
They did. We 1-2 last year in Arizona, looking to avoid something similar. That Texas Tech game is the key one there. It's a heck of a pitching matchup. You get Russell versus Kyle Robinson, who's a name a lot of people probably don't know from Texas Tech, and the numbers don't look great. I think it's like a 5.36 ERA last year, about 45 innings. He was a swing guy for them. But his potential is such that he got called into Team USA last summer. And I think even for me, someone who follows the sport pretty closely, I was like, who is that again? Like, tell me about him. But again, it's a mid-90s fastball. He can get outs with his slider and his changeup, which as a right-hander, like right-handed changeups are not necessarily a thing you see a lot of. But he's got comfort throwing right on right, left on, right on left, both ways. So I think that's a really nifty pitching matchup. Now, pitch counts and all, who knows how long we'll see it.
Right.
But the next 2 days, I like the matchup they have against Oklahoma. Throwing Beam out there in a game like that, he's not going to get, sped up out there. And I'm not sure what to make of Oklahoma. The one key there, though, for Tennessee is that Oklahoma is a team that likes to get out and run. They like to make things happen on the bases. And Tennessee brought in Cannon Peebles from NC State to catch. And by all accounts, he's a better option than they've had there in a little while. But whether it's Peebles, Cal Stark, Charlie Taylor, pick your person, Tennessee's going to have to prove they can slow down the running game, which, as you know, has been a little bit of a problem for them the last couple of years. And then, Baylor on Sunday, Baylor's just down right now. Like, I don't like the roster. I don't really like where they're at right now. So that's a game where, look, anybody can get got. I get it. But that should be a game where they can come in and out-talent the competition. So, you're looking at 1 and 2 being the floor here, but, man, it would be an optimistic thing for Tennessee if they were able to get at least a couple wins here.
In the non-Caglione, non-Tommy White division, who's your SEC Player of the Year?
I think Ethan Petrie is being overlooked a little bit in this conversation. I don't think it's nothing that last year, with all the injuries they had, with some of the slumps they dealt with, they lost Will McGillis, they lost Talmadge Lecroy for a period of time. Gavin Casas was pretty cold throughout a lot of the back half of SEC play. There were times last year where you just had to not let Ethan Petrie beat you, and he was still beating teams.
Yeah.
So I think there is something to that. I also like Charlie Condon. Now, I don't think Georgia's going to win enough games for Charlie Condon to probably be in this conversation, but the thing that holds me up with him is that's literally the situation that's going to happen all season, which is like Charlie Condon. I say this partially as a joke, but honestly, I wouldn't be shocked. Like, he might walk 75 times. Like, why on earth would you pitch to that guy in that lineup? No disrespect. Like,
sure.
The kids are playing at Georgia. Clearly they're talented, but man, he is head and shoulders above anybody else in the rest of that lineup. You just can't let him beat you. But so if you're making me do a Vegas style pick of, hey, can I get some value? Like, Petrie's probably my guy, because I would bet if there were actually betting odds on this, maybe there are. Like, I would imagine he's going to be closer to like 5, 6, or 7 on the list versus 2 or 3, which is where I think he actually should be.
You cover the SEC in baseball. Ole Miss is playing a baseball game that starts at 11:30 p.m. Eastern tomorrow. Will you be watching that?
No, come on. But I will be extensively looking at the box score as soon as I get. Now, there's a pretty good chance I start off watching it. But it's just a matter of how quickly the melatonin hits me. You know what I'm saying? Like, once that starts up. So I'll watch a couple innings because, I am kind of fascinated by Ole Miss this year, and who knows how big of a test Hawaii will be. The biggest challenge with going to play those games in Hawaii, I imagine, is just the, talking yourself into like, okay, I know it's been kind of cool sitting on this beach all day. Now we got to go play a baseball game. That would be a mental challenge for me, but I guess that's why I was never a Division I baseball player. So, but I don't know what team they have out in Hawaii, but that is a difficult trip. Sometimes it can be a little bit tricky. I don't think we'll learn anything about Ole Miss just yet, but they've got some tests coming up, so we'll learn something about Ole Miss sooner or later. That's for sure. Where
are you headed this weekend? You going to any games?
Yeah, keeping it relatively local because Kendall is headed to Arlington, so he's got that covered.
Yep.
David Seifert is going down to Florida to see Caglione pitch. Mark Etheridge will be down at LSU on Monday, but he's also making stops at Bama and Mississippi State this weekend. So I'm keeping it relatively local and going to Spartanburg, seeing Kentucky play USC Upstate, which your listeners might kind of roll their eyes at, but Upstate's the favorite in the Big South. Obviously Kentucky coming off their super regional, they're trying to back that result up, which I'm fascinated to see whether or not that happens because the margins were so thin for them last year. Can they, they can probably be a better team and have a worse record this year. So I'm kind of fascinated to see that. So I'll spend a couple days there and then, come back probably Sunday, just do some, watching a bunch of stuff at home and trying to get caught up on everything that I missed over the weekend.
Kentucky cooked up the RPI numbers last year, headed on the road to SC Upstate. Maybe a fast track to do that as well. Joe, enjoy the baseball this weekend. We'll talk next week.
Appreciate it, huh? You too. See you.
Joe Healy, D1 Baseball, looking for your LSU baseball coverage, SEC baseball coverage. Head over to D1 Baseball and get the SEC Extra package. He and Mark Etheridge do an awesome job. And they've actually got a preview of every single SEC team already up on wherever you get your podcast. You can check all that out. I've listened to all of them. So they're like 20 minutes a piece. You just want to hear what Ole Miss might look like? Dive in. You can check that out on the SEC Extra page, part of D1 Baseball. Joe will be with us every single Thursday. We'll come back and close out hour number 1 next.
You are now listening to The Hunt Palmer Show. In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com.
Bayou Ford has new 23 Ford F-150 STX trucks for only $39,995. $39,995 plus 1.9% financing for 72 months. And all new Bayou Ford vehicles come with a 1 million mile warranty. The crew at Bayou Ford is going to do right by you.
The best kept secret in town is out. Discover Tallulah at the Renaissance Hotel on Bluebonnet.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected. Supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs. Even in the case of an after-hours emergency, the light in your life shines brighter with Mr. Electric.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona. For years, you've heard me tell you about Insurance Network of Louisiana, helping you find better coverage for less money. But it's not just for your home and auto. They also offer commercial property. So, retail stores, professional offices like doctors, dentists, attorneys, clothing boutiques. Insurance Network of Louisiana can find you better coverage for less money. They service the entire state of Louisiana, and they're local. So call today at 293-0450 or lainsurance.net.
Yo, Jake here from my friends over at Community Steel Company located in Gonzales, Louisiana. The local place you can turn to for all of your metal building needs. Notice I said local, not Houston, not Dallas, not Atlanta, but right here in Gonzales. Visit them at their brand new state-of-the-art website at communitysteelco.com or pick up the phone and give them a call today to answer all of your questions on your metal buildings, roofing and sheet metal, and any other steel needs you or your business need at 225-647-2020.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com.
On Fridays, OTB, the team is live from the box for opening day. Come celebrate the return of your favorite national championship baseball team, plus the latest from your Saints, Tigers, off the bench, 7 to 10 a.m., 104.5 ESPN.
This February, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge and Citizens Bank and Trust are here to offer you a holiday rebate to the tune of $1,000 in cash. To help out, signing up is as simple as heading to 1045ESPN.com. It's our annual holiday rebate gift to you from Citizens Bank and Trust and 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
You are listening to The Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Rouse's Supermarkets.
So I ran up to campus today to do a little podcast with Cody Worsham, previewing the LSU baseball season, and got out, and it was time to grab a quick lunch before I headed back to get ready for the show, and ran over to Rouse's. And I was boring and healthy and got a delicious but healthy salad, but I made sure I wasn't going to come on and tell you about how incredible my salad was, because that's kind of boring.
Yeah, it
Just
is.
get some veggies and some, but the hot bar, which I did not eat but would really like to have eaten, was fried chicken. Had some chicken fettuccine Alfredo, had some delicious looking green beans. The hot bar, always an option. So the point being, like, if you want to swing in there and get a quick, easy lunch, there's Rouse's everywhere. You can stop in and do that. You can do it healthily like I did today. You can do it deliciously and get some fried chicken and fettuccine Alfredo if you want to do that as well. Rouse's are bringing our Thursday shows. Always a great option to get in there and grab the hot bar. They've also got like meat pies and egg rolls and chicken nuggets, chicken strips, and all kinds of like grab-and-go items in there. Just looking to get in and out really, really quickly. So Rouse's, awesome partners of ours here at 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge, and they bring you our Thursday shows each and every week. Beck, you saw this, the announcement before the announcement?
Yeah.
I guess it's fair to say.
They call it a teaser, if you will.
If you will. I mean, it was not very discreet. Like, they were saying, hey, EA Sports, we're bringing the college football game back. Check it out. We'll just tell you more about it coming up in May.
Yeah.
But it sounds like you're not very hopeful about this NCAA football game.
Yeah,
were you a big NCAA football guy back in your day?
Yeah,
Okay.
I love the old games, and they were always really fun. I always loved the mascot mode and making your own making your own player and just making him a 99 and just running over everybody was great. But unfortunately, yeah, I'm a bit of a video game guy, and so I've followed the EA Sports and Madden. And I know a lot of our listeners are older and they don't really probably don't know much about it, but Madden in the last like 7 or 8 years has gone downhill in terms of the actual game itself, because it's pretty much just all predicated on this game mode where you can buy players and you can use real money,
spend more money on
a game, on a video game. Not to mention it's a game you already paid. Now they're $70, by the way. The games are $70 now. And then you can also spend real money to buy these players and use them in the game. And so it's gone downhill a bit in terms of the gameplay aspect of it. It hasn't really changed much, but so I'm not exactly hopeful or expecting that this game will be much different than what Madden has been. But we'll see. Maybe not. Maybe they'll not go that route. But I'm not exactly expecting much.
Look, I stopped playing video games when they discontinued NCAA.
Yeah, you weren't the only one, by the way.
Yeah, one, like, that was the only game I played, and they quit making it. And two, like, I got married for the first time then, so that was kind of like the end of that situation. And Myers is too young to play video games at the moment, but I would imagine we're like probably 3 years away. You're 5,
yeah, something like that.
You can play a little bit when you're 5, I would imagine. And I might dive back into it from the college football side of things. I mean, I can remember we did some fun things in college with it. We played the online mode where we all we're an online dynasty together, and so everybody had their own program. I was Arizona State with Brock Osweiler at quarterback back in the day. Somebody was Cincinnati. I think we had a Michigan State in the mix. I think there was a Georgia Tech. But I was definitely Arizona State with Brock Osweiler, so that was fun. I used to stay up way too late, like doing the dynasty modes, recruiting, that whole thing. And I was really cranky when Ed O'Banion threw a fit and got this thing like discontinued. It's like, yeah, I don't know how much money you stand to make from being on the NCAA video games, and I'm sure I could ask Hesker or Jeremy or one of these guys, or Brandon Taylor, one of these guys that played in the NFL, what their Madden check was. But it's like, it can't be that much money, and you've discontinued it and ruined it for the entire nation that wants to play this game. Like, that's not good business. So I was really cranky with Ed O'Banion for that. But sounds like things are coming back, and I think there's a chance within the next 5 years that I get back into some gaming. I realize that's not the greatest way to spend quality time with the kiddos, but
yeah, it's not
beats
bad.
like standing there scrolling through your phone or something.
Yeah, exactly.
So we may get into that as time permits moving forward. But College Football 25, EA Sports coming up. Sounds like this into this summer.
Yeah, it says
when
summer.
things
Yeah,
are
we'll
cranking
see.
up. So we shall. All right, that's it for hour number 1, presented by Rouse's. If you missed any of it, catch it on demand, 1045ESPN.com's on demand tab, Apple Podcasts, Spotify. I started with some Jay Johnson sound. Luke Johnson on the Saints. You can find that interview at Hunt on Saints on YouTube. And then Joe Healy talking some SEC baseball. Kind of a down weekend for opening weekend. Only one tournament and some boring home series. But we're into it. We're fired up talking about LSU baseball. I'm going to do that coming up after Sports Center. My bold predictions plus my SEC and regular season record predictions. Come back after Sports Center to the Hunt Palmer Show.
Gulf Coast Bank and Trust is giving our customers the power to bank anywhere, anytime during this challenging event. And we're right there with you. Our mobile banking app is a smart way to manage your money and time. Gulf Coast Bank and Trust, the bank that cares about you.
Value Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram is taking $17,500 off new 23 1500 Bighorn trucks. We're open for business in our beautiful new showroom and taking $17,500 off new Ram 1500 trucks. All new Bayou vehicles come with a 1 million mile warranty. The crew at Bayou Automotive is going to do right by you.
Happy New Year from your friends at Front to Back Boat Service. And what better way to kick off your new year than by taking your boat to the next level? Get the boat of your dreams, and that's where Front to Back comes into play. You want that spot lock trolling motor that's going to keep you right there on the water where you need to be. How about some forward-facing sonar that actually shows you the fish before you even cast? Custom stereo jobs, all of it. Sherman family's been doing it for 38 years. Go to fronttobackboatservice.com.
The Windsor Senior Living Community in Mandeville, Louisiana is a beautiful, vibrant apartment community geared toward seniors. They are nestled right in the heart of Mandeville, where seniors live a more carefree lifestyle in spacious apartments with the peace of mind that comes from having a little extra help. Call the Windsor at 985-624-8040 to schedule a lunch and tour. Come see how the Windsor can be your passport to peace of mind.
Breck teamed up to reimagine your parks, and you imagined big. With your help, we went to work, creating 12 beautiful community parks across the parish. A family-sized water park, miles and miles of trails, and parks just for your dogs. There are more places to splash, to explore, to run wild, and even soar. You imagined, we delivered. Gold. Breck, your #1 park system in the nation.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected. Supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs, even in the case of an after-hours emergency. The light in your life shines brighter with Mr. Electric.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona. For years, you've heard me tell you about Insurance Network of Louisiana, helping you find better coverage for less money. But it's not just for your home and auto. They also offer commercial property. So, retail stores, professional offices like doctors, dentists, attorneys, clothing boutiques. Insurance Network of Louisiana can find you better coverage for less money They service the entire state of Louisiana, and they're local. So call today at 293-0450 or lainsurance.net.
Yo, Jake here from my friends over at Community Steel Company located in Gonzales, Louisiana. The local place you can turn to for all of your metal building needs. Notice I said local, not Houston, not Dallas, not Atlanta, but right here in Gonzales. Visit them at their brand new state-of-the-art website at communitysteelco.com or pick up the phone and give them a call today to answer all of your questions on your metal buildings, roofing and sheet metal, and any other steel needs you or your business need at 225-647-2020.
This is SportsCenter.
I'm Doug Brown. Police in Kansas City now believe they know the cause of Wednesday's shooting at the Chiefs championship parade. Police Chief Stacey Graves.
First and foremost, I want to stress that preliminary investigative findings have shown there was no nexus to terrorism or homegrown violent extremism. This appeared to be a dispute between several people that ended in gunfire.
Stacey Graves, one person was killed, 22 others injured. 3 people have been detained in connection with that shooting. 2 of them are juveniles. ESPN's Adam Schefter reports Seahawks quarterback Geno Smith will stay on the roster for the rest of this week, which will make his $12.7 million base salary guaranteed for the 2024 season. If he's still on the roster March 18th, he'll also get a $9.6 million roster bonus. Tiger Woods playing his first tour event in 10 months at Riviera. Today's first round, Woods 1 under through 9 holes. Patrick Cantlay and Will Zalatoris share the lead right now at 6 under par.
Hey, it's your resident Super Bowl champ, Chris Canty. Coming up Friday, Jerry Jones said he's going all in 2024. I'll tell you what he needs to do in order for me to believe it. It's Unsportsmanlike, 6 a.m. Eastern, right here on ESPN Radio, ESPN2, and ESPNU.
Ladies and gentlemen, may I direct your attention to something quite extraordinary?
Now, the Hunt Palmer Show. The Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Brought to you by Rouse's Supermarkets. Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studios. This is Hunt Palmer.
All right, hour 2, presented by Rouse's Markets here on this Thursday. We are 24 hours exactly from first pitch at Alec Box Stadium between LSU and VMI. And I'm excited about it. Shocker. We'll be out there near the stadium tomorrow, just outside the left field line right there in Championship Plaza, doing the show from noon to 2. Just got a text from Cade Beloso. My guy's got a 12:45 tee time tomorrow, so we bumped him up to noon. He's going to lead off the show tomorrow for us. We'll have Cade Beloso in the first hour. We'll have Jamie Tutko in the first hour. He's the Director of Player Development as well as Video Director over there. We'll talk to Doug Thompson in the first hour. Chris Demouy is going to join us as well. So we got a lot going on tomorrow on the show. So if you're headed out to the box and want to lock us in from noon to 2, we appreciate it. If you're going to already be at the box and want to hang out with us while we do the show, that's awesome. If you're going to be at work because the game's at 2 o'clock, we'll get you to first pitch, and then we can release the reins over to Chris Blair. It's actually going to be Doug Thompson and Buzzy Heidel on the LSU Sports Radio Network. We'll talk with Chris Blair coming up in 15 minutes about a little LSU basketball as well. Last year, I was pretty rock solid on these projections. I hit 3 of 5 of my my preseason bold projections, and if they would have played one more game in Columbia, South Carolina, I would have nailed the entirety of the season for the SEC record and the regular season record. I don't know that it'll be that good this time around, but we'll certainly try. I've got 4 bold predictions here, and an SEC record and a regular season record. So we'll start with number 1, and I alluded to this at the top of the show, but I'm starting to feel like this is gaining some momentum. And I'll project that Josh Pearson starts more games in the outfield than he does at second base. I have 3 reasons for this that could contribute to more innings in the outfield for Pearson. 1, maybe his defense isn't good enough at second base. Like, that's a possibility. You bring him in from the outfield. Like, Dugas made the transition. Jacoby Jones made the transition. Jared Foster made the transition. Like, we've seen it, but maybe it doesn't take, and he's just kicking the ball too often at second base, and that would move him back. Maybe Stephen Milam in whatever chances he gets early in the season becomes impossible to keep off the field. And Milam's not going to go play the outfield. He's got to play on the infield. Well, he's not taking the third base spot, and I don't think he's taking Michael Braswell's spot at shortstop. Maybe Stephen Milam works his way into the lineup at second base because they just can't keep him out. That would be another way that Pearson would go back. And then maybe either, well, there's four, I guess. I could split this into two. Maybe Jake Brown can't hit at this level. Well, he's got to come out of the outfield. If he's got to come out of the outfield, doesn't it make sense to move Pearson back? You could put Ethan Fry out there. You could put Ashton Larson out there. You could put Zeb Ruddle out there, but wouldn't it make sense to put Pearson out there and then put Milam in at second base? And then the last one is, what if Jared Jones struggles at first base? And maybe Jake Brown comes in to play first. Josh Pearson goes to the outfield, and Stephen Milam plays second base. So either Pearson can't play defense at second base, Milam just flat out wins the job, Jake Brown fails in the outfield, or Jared Jones fails at first base. Any of those reactions, not all of them, any of them, would move potentially Pearson to the outfield and Milam at second base. I'm not totally opposed to Josh Pearson playing second base, but my projection here, my bold prediction, is that Josh Pearson starts more games in the outfield than he does at second. My second bold prediction for LSU baseball this year: Thatcher Hurd and Luke Holman both rank in the top 8 in the SEC in strikeouts for the regular season. Hagen Smith's going to be up there. You figure Zach Caglione's got a real chance to be that at Florida if he throws more strikes. Vanderbilt's got Carter Holton and probably another 2 guys that could vie for that. Maybe Chris Cortez finds it at Texas A&M and throws more strikes, and he runs up that strikeout total because of how good his stuff is. They love JT Quinn at Ole Miss and think he could be fantastic. But I think Thatcher Hurd and Luke Holman are going to miss a lot of bats this year. And I think they're going to start a lot of games. So I've got both of them in the top 8 in the SEC in strikeouts for this season. Number 3, Michael Braswell, in his 2 seasons at South Carolina, over 2 years, hit 17 doubles, 4 triples, and 3 home runs. That is a total of 24 extra base hits for Michael Braswell in 2 years at South Carolina. I think he will best that total in 1 year in Baton Rouge. I think Michael Braswell goes over 24 extra base hits, his total from 2 seasons in Garnet and Black. He'll do that in purple and gold. I've just really been impressed with the way Michael Braswell has swung the bat since he got to campus. I was not impressed statistically with him at South Carolina. And I honestly, as closely as I follow the league, did not really know his name when he went into the transfer portal. That's not, I mean, I can tell you some guys from South Carolina's team last year, whether it's Ethan Petrie, whether it's Casas hitting 20 home runs. Like, Cade Messina was fantastic for them last year, was an all-conference player. But I didn't remember Braswell. I know him now. And I'm not telling you he's going to be SEC Player of the Year. I'm not telling you he's hitting 365. But I think he's going to hit some doubles and home runs for LSU. Far more doubles. Maybe some triples. He had 4 of those in 2 years in Columbia. I think he has over 24 extra base hits for LSU this year. And then my fourth bold prediction is more so, it's kind of baked into my season prediction, but it's another piece to the puzzle here. And we'll track all this, and we'll clip the tapes, and we'll play it again come June. But I think LSU is going to do very, very well against the SEC West this year. You play all 6 of those teams, and I think the West is going to be a little bit down from its normal prowess. So I think LSU goes 12-6 against the SEC West this year. I think they can beat Mississippi State in a series, Auburn, A&M. Like, here's my thought. I don't think Mississippi State's going to be good at all. They whiffed on all their transfers. They tried to get Holman. They didn't get him. Tried to get Braden Montgomery, who's from Mississippi. He ended up at A&M. They don't have a lot of upgrades. They've got a couple of good bats. Hunter Himes is really good. But they're going to be bad again. They've been bad for 2 years. I think they're going to be bad. I don't think Auburn is a really talented roster. Ike Ayers is a heck of a player, and Butch Thompson's been a great coach at getting them to play well late in the season. I'm not scared of Auburn coming to the box. A&M has a great-looking lineup. I don't know about their pitching. They're putting a lot of eggs in this Chris Cortez basket, and he's been wildly inconsistent in College Station. I'm not terrified of them coming to the box. LSU goes to Alabama. I don't think Bama's going to be very good. Holman's here. It's a coaching change. They were okay last year, but I don't trust that roster to be awesome. LSU goes there on the road, and then Ole Miss comes to the box. I just don't know. That the core from the national championship team is gone. They won 6 games in the league last year. 6. Do I think they're going to turn around and win 18 this year? I do not. I just don't trust, outside of Arkansas and LSU, the SEC West. I think Florida's going to be really good. I think Vanderbilt's going to be really good. But I don't love the West. I think LSU beats the West up and goes 12-6 against the SEC West, and that loops things back into my predictions for the season. I think that the SEC East could be bumpy for LSU. You got Florida and Vanderbilt coming here, but those are really talented teams. You got to go to Knoxville, which is not a pleasant place to play. And then you're at Missouri, who should be terrible, and LSU should go up there and win that series, but calling for a sweep on the road is always kind of difficult. So I think it could get bumpy for LSU in the East, and I've actually got them 5-7 against the East. I've got potential series losses to Florida, Vanderbilt, and Tennessee, because those are early on, while LSU, I think, maybe still trying to find itself offensively. So I think they go 17-13 in the league. I think they go 22-4 in the non-conference. That puts them, for the season, over 56 games at 39-17, 17-13. That puts you as a host site, and depending on what the RPI looks like, you could be a top 8 there, although you might be on the outside looking in. All that said, I think LSU is going to have a really good baseball team this year. I am concerned offensively about what they're going to be, especially early on, and those first 5 SEC series are brutal. Brutal, brutal, brutal. You got Florida, you got Vanderbilt, you're at Tennessee, at Mississippi State. Like, that's a tough stretch early. And so I think there could be some hiccups. Keep in mind, last year LSU had an alien as its ace. They went 8-2 on SEC games that Paul Skeens pitched. I think that could potentially regress against some of these aces to 6-4. If you go 6-4 against aces, that's really good, but you're 2 games worse. I don't know exactly where Gage Jump is right now, and that gives me a little bit of concern. And then offensively, like, do teams have to pitch to White? Does Paxton Kling break out? Does Jared Jones break out? Is Jake Brown an all-SEC freshman? What is Mac Bingham in the SEC? Like, there are just some questions. And I think that's fair to submit, to say, look, I think this team wins, as I've laid it out, wins 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of 10 SEC weekends, never gets swept, wins 17 league games, only drops 4 in the non-conference, maybe 1 pre-conference or two pre-conference, 2 midweek. I think that would put LSU in a position to host a regional, potentially host a super. And once you get there, I'm not trying to sit here in February and predict how one weekend is going to go in June. I think it's good. I think relative to the rest of the nation, this team is very good. I think relative to last year's team, there are some significant questions that have to be asked. I'm not saying concerns. I'm not saying issues. I'm not saying there's a lower ceiling. I'm just saying I want to see some things, and that starts tomorrow. So that's where we're at. We got Josh Pearson starting more games in the outfield than second. We got Thatcher Hurd and Luke Holman top 8 in the SEC in strikeouts. We got Michael Braswell more extra base hits in 1 year at LSU than 2 years at South Carolina. And we've got LSU going 12-6 against the SEC West this year, which gets you off to a really good start when you're looking at total SEC wins. I can't wait to get out to the box tomorrow, see this team out there at a 2 o'clock first pitch. Is 24 hours from right now. We'll talk a little bit of baseball with Chris Blair coming up next, but certainly want to talk about the LSU basketball team's tough loss in Gainesville on the trip coming up to Columbia on Saturday. So don't go anywhere. It's the Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Audio Video Security Solutions, avssla.com. I know a lot of folks, T-Bob talks about this all the time. He loves to sit in the backyard and watch and listen to LSU baseball. It's that time of year. There's a lot of baseball to be watched. Well, make sure that your home entertainment system and your viewing experience is as good as it can be. Audio Video Security Solutions can do that for you. They can handle all your equipment. They can mount the TV. They can run the wiring. They can have the surround sound. They can make it look beautiful and function wonderfully, and you can control all of it with the touch of a button on your iPhone. Have Mitchell Fisher come out with his team, give a look at your space, and tell you what they can do. Audio Video Security Solutions. They're on Instagram at AVSS_BR. And as I tell you every day, they're online at AVSSLA.com.
Our listeners fire off their opinions on the jimsfirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the jimsfirearms.net hotline on 1045 ESPN Baton Rouge.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected. Supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team. And backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
The importance of doing this Fortified program and offering it to people down here is, number one, the only real chance you're going to get to do this is when you put on a new roof or build new. And through companies like HUDCO, who's kind of leading the way in this thing, it's going to offer the customers a huge advantage in the insurance market and the price of their insurance.
You know, we're not looking to make a fortune off fortifying. We're trying to give you a better product than our competitor at the moment. I'm trying to do something that he can. I'm trying to give you something better. So a lot of these insurance jobs, you're getting a re-roof, you're only paying your deductible. Let's sit down and talk about the Fortified and let's see what it does to your insurance premium. You're getting a steal.
Yeah.
You're getting a brand new roof and a Fortified certificate for your deductible, essentially. And I think we're rocking and rolling.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
Breck teamed up to reimagine your parks, and you imagined big. With your help, we went to work, creating 12 beautiful community parks across the parish. A family-sized water park, miles and miles of trails, and parks just for your dogs. There are more places to splash, to explore, to run wild, and even soar. You imagined, we delivered gold.
Moscona inviting you to join us for Thursday's AFR. We are 1 day away from opening day at the box. We will have your full season preview and prediction for the defending champs. Join us, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Rouse's Supermarkets.
Moving right along here on a Thursday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show, presented by Rouse's. We head out to the Jim's Firearms Hotline every Thursday at 2:15 to talk to the voice of the Tigers, Chris Blair. We do so now. Chris, how are you?
Doing well. Looking forward to a great weekend, man. Going to miss the first 2 games, unfortunately, on the road, but looking forward to getting back to the box on Sunday and get an extra game on Monday.
Yeah, it's you'll be on the air the same time as me on Monday. Your kind of thoughts as this team looks to what was the word they use? Attack, and it's not defend, it's attack And it's been very evident that that's been preached significantly because they've all said it in the media. But the mindset of this team is they try to reclimb the mountain.
Yeah, I think it's pretty evident, as you said. I mean, when you hear these guys talk, whether they're in the media or just around the ballpark, I mean, it's all about 2024, and that's not a coincidence. That's by design. I mean, I had a chance, as I told you last week, to visit with Coach Johnson a couple of times over the last couple of weeks, and I mean, there's no mention of 2023. In fact, you kind of have to twist his arm to talk about it a little bit because he's completely moved on to this season and the set of challenges that this schedule, this team with new faces and guys who we saw last year who are now expected to step up even more. So I thought he's done a masterful job. Again, I think when you look at the roster and the returning players who last year bought into that team concept, some guys who are expected again to maybe carry a little more of the weight. There's still only 9 guys in the order, 8 guys in the field. How many at bats? How many times in the game will you get in there? And if they're able to again get that team concept of when my name is called, I've got to deliver. I think it could be a special year. But it's obvious they have put 2023 behind them. As Coach said, there was a time and place for that celebration, and he was quickly to point out that has been done.
It was a long and winding road for Thatcher Hurd last year. Your thoughts on him getting the ball to start the season?
I kind of thought he would be the guy. I mean, I didn't have any inside information. I just thought, the way he came on down the stretch, and he was one of those guys that, I think acclimated a little bit to the lights and spectacle of SEC baseball. I mean, Jay told us from day one when he arrived here from the West Coast, hey, this guy's got the stuff. I know it. I've seen it. And early in the year, midway through the year, when you would talk to Coach about it, he'd say, I still have full faith and confidence in what Thatcher Hurd can do. And he, like a couple of other guys, really in the postseason, certainly in Omaha, kind of showed you that, I think this Jay Johnson, he may know something about talent and what players can do. So hopefully he's one of those that I mentioned a moment ago that's going to be able to take a step forward, maybe be a little more consistent. But there's no doubt he's got electric stuff, and hopefully he's been able to build confidence from his performance in the postseason through fall ball, preseason, and I'm excited. And as I said, I think he's the perfect candidate in my mind to start the season off tomorrow afternoon.
Last year, the Bats kind of did the heavy lifting for a little while they figured out who they wanted to use from a pitching perspective. Do you see it as the opposite this year, where the pitchers need to hold the rope until they figure out the guys they want out there at the plate?
Yeah, it's easy for me to sit here and go, hey, look, you got to replace Trey Morgan, Dylan Cruz, in that lineup, and Gavin Dugas and the guys that you were, consistently counting on to provide runs. And there's no question, you're right on the money. I mean, there were games where they basically had to outscore people, especially early in the conference and even midway through the conference. And then you saw towards that back end, as Coach Johnson has talked about, where, LSU wasn't playing their best baseball. When the runs weren't there, the bullpen wasn't able to hold a small lead. Even the starting pitching suffered a little bit. And I think when you look at this roster, again, knock on wood, everybody stays healthy. I think the pitching is going to be much improved. And again, I'm not saying this team can't produce offensively, because there's a list of guys that are going to be returning that certainly know how to swing the bat. But I think that's probably the strength is the pitching staff. And goodness knows, as well as we've seen guys improve their hitting. I mean, I think about a dude like Alex Milazzo, who you basically thought, all right, get him in there, play defense. He's not going to make mistakes. He's going to hold the runners at bay. But, at the plate, he's not going to give you much. If he can get a walk, that's great. That wasn't the case. He's improved his hitting. So, I'm not saying this team isn't going to be, have firepower offensively, but I think just because of the depth, the talent that they have on the pitching staff, it'll be nice to be able to go in and not have to rely on 10, 12, 13 runs a game.
Doug Thompson, Buzzy Heidel on the call from the box tomorrow. Doug will join us pregame on this show as we broadcast 12 to 2 from just outside the box. That is because the voice of the Tigers, Chris Blair, will be in Columbia, South Carolina with the basketball squad. Tough one in Gainesville. It felt to me, and I tweeted this out, like this is another, they fell behind by 20, they cut it to 8, and then they ended up losing by 18. And then all of a sudden, it got all the way down to tied. It was a different verse. If it felt like the same book, it was an impressive effort for LSU in the second half, but they couldn't quite finish the deal.
Yeah, I mean, it's I had the similar feeling. I thought, okay, they switched to this matchup zone, and I tell you what, Florida really had no answer, and they certainly, if teams are taking note, that might be something to do with the third leading scoring team in the SEC is throw a little zone at them. But that helped LSU slow the pace because, frankly, at halftime I thought we were well on our way to a 90-plus, maybe even another century mark score for Florida because they went on that tear to end the first half, had a 14-point lead. And then quickly in the second half, it got to a 20-point lead, 60-40 with 15:31 to go. And then you started to see that zone slow Florida down a little bit, got contested shots. LSU, again, at times better on the defensive glass. But, yeah, it felt different to me. I mean, you've had 5 games this year decided by 4 points or less. 2 in the SEC were down to a shot to send it to overtime. The one at Georgia would have won it. And so that's a tough one. I mean, it's not as if it's the only close game that you came up short. But that one, you thought they might get all the way to the top of the hill and get it done. And frankly, the scenario lined up, credit Matt McMahon. He put his team in a position to win that game. I mean, everything played out the way they wanted it to. They denied the best 2 free throw shooters, 2 of the best in the league. They got it to Condon, the freshman, who's a decent free throw shooter, Hunt, but he's a freshman, and he's got the game on the line. He hits 1 of 2. LSU knew what they wanted to do with the ball, just weren't able to get the shot. And again, that you look at that and you magnify that final shot and you feel bad for Jordan Wright because he was open. I thought initially in real time, because nobody was around him, he maybe take one power dribble, lay it up, or even dunk the ball to send it to overtime. But the defensive rebounding, that's the story of the game. I mean, again, 18, 19 offensive rebounds to a team that already shoots the ball pretty well. And when you have them miss shots, giving them 19 offensive rebounds to their 35 missed shots is just a combination that even though you win the field goal stat, even though you shot the ball extremely well from 3, wasn't even close, and you were decent and at least beat Florida on the free throw line, didn't have a ton of turnovers, the number that jumps out is the offensive rebounds and the 22 or 23 second chance points the Gators got.
You think you might see some more zone from LSU, considering they've given up 90, 100-plus in some of these games recently?
Well, I'm not the smartest guy. I would readily admit that, but I did ask that last night on Matt's show. And we've seen some zone. In fact, if you go back and watch the Tennessee game, once Tennessee went on that run and built a big double-digit lead, LSU tried a little bit of zone, and Tennessee just absolutely hammered it, got 2 back-to-back buckets, and that was the end of that. I was impressed with how LSU played the matchup zone on Tuesday night, because initially it looked like a 1-3-1, and then when Florida went lateral with the ball, then you could see it was a matchup zone, and they played much better. But to your point, Coach McMahon said it's something that's on the table now because, again, 80 points in SEC play, certainly on the road, should be enough to win basketball games most of the time. And if that's what this team needs to do, I don't think you'll see them go all zone because anybody who knows anything about basketball is, good teams eventually figure it out. So you can't just go all zone. But I think you'll see a little bit more of it. And it'll be interesting Saturday because South Carolina is not a high-scoring team. They're a team that packs a lunch and plays good defense. I think they average around 69 points a game in the league, and that number's going to dip slightly based on the performance last night. But so it'll be interesting. Will they play a little zone against South Carolina, or will they try to man up for a team that at times does struggle to manufacture points?
Last one here. Will Baker was kind of non-existent in December and early January, and all of a sudden he's been a real force offensively. What's changed?
I think it's confidence. I asked Matt last night. The last 5 games, he's averaging just under 19 points a game. He's 10 of 19 from three-point land, which is a big difference because now it allows him to stretch the floor. It does a couple of things. One, takes some of the rim protectors for the opponents out of the lane, which will open up some driving opportunities for the backcourt. But again, if you're hitting 10 of 19 of 3, he's a threat. And I think confidence has a lot to do with it. But certainly first half in the Alabama game and first half in the Florida game, there was something coaches saw that they could take advantage of their inside game. I mean, he abused Grant Nelson for Alabama. They eventually put Nelson on the bench and gave Pringle a try and also used a double team. Same thing for Florida. Hand-locked him last night. He couldn't stop him at 7'1" early on. Then Condon couldn't stop him early on, and eventually they go to the double team. So I think confidence has to do with it, and I think a dedicated design to say, you know what, we've got to get some points in the paint, and we think Baker now can do it.
My plan is to pack enough moving boxes on Saturday that I can get out to the box and get a hall pass on Sunday. If that's the case, I'll see you there. If not, maybe a little bit down the road, but travel safe to Columbia, all right?
Yeah, and you know what? I think I saw you earlier today, and it's amazing how many people can get into this facility. I looked up and I'm like, what's he doing here?
Worsham let me in. We were talking baseball.
Okay, I was about to say, I was like, what is he doing here? No, it was good to see you. And I hope I see you at the box this weekend.
That's the plan. Thanks, Chris. Travel safe.
You got it.
That's Chris Blair, the voice of the Tigers, LSU in South Carolina. Saturday afternoon, you can catch it here on Eagle 98.1 locally on the LSU Sports Radio Network. We'll come back. 30 minutes left to go on this edition of the Hunt Palmer Show.
You are now listening to the Hunt Palmer Show.
Boudreaux's Electric. Neil and Melissa Boudreaux, been at it for 40 years. Generac generator dealer, premier Generac dealer, meaning they're in the top 3% nationwide. I'll tell you this, you call Boudreaux's Electric and you have them come out. They understand what kind of square footage you've got. They understand what you want when the power fails. You want that generator power in the entire house, or you just want to make sure that it stays cool and the fridge is running. Either way, you got to customize a generator to your needs. When that's done, they're going to send out a full-time Boudreaux's Electric employee who's going to come out, install that generator using the highest quality in copper and tubing, and they're going to do most of that installation underground so that it's also aesthetically pleasing and not some big eyesore. We know it's functional, but we want it to look good as well. And every single Generac generator you buy from Boudreaux's Electric is going to come with a warranty, maybe 7 years, maybe 10 years on that warranty, depending on which type of generator you go with. But they're here to help you here at Boudreaux's Electric. Protect yourself from those power outages. Another storm season is always coming. Give our friends at Boudreaux's Electric a call. It's 225-300-9389, 225-300-9389. That's Boudreaux's Electric.
In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs. Even in the case of an after-hours emergency, the light in your life shines brighter with Mr. Electric.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary, for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona. For years, you've heard me tell you about Insurance Network of Louisiana, helping you find better coverage for less money. But it's not just for your home and auto. They also offer commercial properties. So, retail stores, professional offices like doctors, dentists, attorneys, clothing boutiques. Insurance Network of Louisiana can find you better coverage for less money. They service the entire state of Louisiana, and they're local. So call today at 293-0450 or lainsurance.net.
Yo, Jake here from my friends over at Community Steel Company located in Gonzales, Louisiana. The local place you can turn to for all of your metal building needs. Notice I said local, not Houston, not Dallas, not Atlanta, but right here in Gonzales. Visit them at their brand new state-of-the-art website at communitysteelco.com or pick up the phone and give them a call today to answer all of your questions on your metal buildings, roofing and sheet metal, and any other steel needs you or your business need at 225-647-2020.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals. But many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving.
On Fridays, OTB, the team is live from the box for opening day. Come celebrate the return of your favorite national championship baseball team, plus the latest from your Saints, Tigers, off the bench, 7 to 10 a.m., 104.5 ESPN.
Tune in this weekend for coverage of NBA All-Star Weekend. Friday night at 8, it's the Rising Stars Challenge. Saturday night at 7, it's All-Star Saturday night with a dunk contest, three-point contest, and Steph and Sabrina going at it. And the All-Star Game is Sunday night at 7 right here on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
You are listening to The Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Rouse's Supermarkets.
Some awful news starting to emerge on Twitter, something that had been bubbling for the better part of today, and something I was not going to dive into unless I had some concrete information, and that's now starting to arrive. There was an incident in Union Parish on Friday night the 9th, and the news report from up in Union Parish said that Farmerville police deputies responded to a shooting on Georgia Street in Farmerville near the Union Villa Apartments. Initial calls reported numerous shots being fired, multiple victims, and when the authorities arrived, 2 victims were found suffering from gunshot wounds. One female had been shot 3 times, listed in critical condition. Another male victim was shot once in the lower leg. And this incident was updated a couple days ago. And now some of the rumors that have been flying around are crystallizing, as Pete Thamel, reputable college football reporter for ESPN, has just tweeted out, Sheriff Dusty Gates of the Union Parish Sheriff's Office in Farmerville tells ESPN that running back Trey Holly has been taken into custody on 3 felony charges: attempted second-degree murder, aggravated criminal damage to property, and illegal use of a weapon. Thamel adds he's being held on a $512,000 bond. Gates said that Holly turned himself in today, one of 3 arrests tied to that shooting on February the 9th. It's just awful news. And there's limited information available as to what happened. We understand that Trey turned himself in, which I can assume is some sort of admission of guilt. He'll have his day in court, obviously, and we'll see what materializes from this situation. But it's hard not to just look at it with an overwhelming amount of sadness because of poor decision making. And the first thought you have goes to the victims, and I have not got an update on the young lady that was shot 3 times and was in critical condition. And you certainly hope that everything ends up okay there. Have not gotten an update on the male who was shot in the lower leg, and certainly hope that a full recovery is in the near future for him as well. I just sit here personally, and I just struggle to understand how a situation between young people results in this. What could escalate something to the point where multiple victims are shot? I struggle to understand that. And I understand that young people make impulsive and poor decisions. I certainly, as a young person, made plenty of impulsive and dumb decisions. But these I have trouble making sense of it. Trey Holly is the most decorated running back in the history of the state of Louisiana. Is playing football at the flagship school of the state of Louisiana and has so much promise in a young person. And to have a situation turn into this is heartbreaking. And it's hard not to think, man, he just threw away how much of his life? Again, the most important thing is the victims and their health. And I don't have an update there, but I have an update on Trey Holly, who's turned himself in. It's a poor decision to even put yourself in that situation, much less to make the decision ultimately that he's being brought in on charges for. That's the crux of this story. I can get into what the LSU running back rotation looks like, and we will, because this is a sports show, and that is relevant here. But it feels so insignificant when you boil down the situation that has been presented here. And it's just so too prevalent in our world. Just happens far too often. So we'll see as anything develops with Trey Holly. We'll keep you posted. But if you're just tuning in and trying to listen to what is he talking about with baseball right around the corner, and he's Pete Thamel, ESPN, reporting that the sheriff up at Union Parish in Farmerville, Trey Holly's hometown, tells ESPN that LSU running back Trey Holly has been taken into custody on 3 felony charges: attempted second-degree murder, aggravated criminal damage to property, and illegal use of a weapon. He's being held on $512,000 bond. Gates, the sheriff, said that Holly turned himself in today, one of 3 arrests tied to a shooting on February 9th. Again, not a ton of information based on what happened other than the report coming out on Friday that 2 people were shot in an incident, and that's the incident that Thamel is referring to. So I'll briefly kind of look at this from a football perspective, and I'm sure we'll get into this a little bit more detail maybe next week. But LSU now, with the transfer of Logan Diggs and the decision and Trey Holly's arrest, certainly you know that Diggs will not be around, and you would have a hard time pegging Trey Holly being on the football team in the fall. Again, he'll have his day in court, but as I sit here today, that doesn't feel like a likelihood. That fair? I would say. So you've got some talent. Josh Williams comes back as a senior. I think everyone is really excited about the running back that Caleb Jackson can become, and I've sung the praises of Caden Durham for 2 months now. I think he's going to be a star. But you cannot enter an SEC football season with 3 running backs. That is not going to fly. Running backs take a beating. They get hurt in camp a lot. And we've seen Armani Goodwin's entire career at LSU result in nothing but injury. So they're going to have to be active in the transfer portal. I wouldn't put it quite as pressing a need as defensive tackle, because I just think they're really depleted at defensive tackle at this point. But you're way too thin. You were thin at 4 running backs. You're way too thin at 3. So they're going to have to find somebody. The good news, if you're LSU, is that it's generally speaking easier to find a 5'11", 215-pound guy that can run the football than it is to find a 6'4", 320-pound active defensive front player who can cause havoc in the run game. Running back's a little bit more available, so LSU's going to have to look into that, but it's secondary as you sit here today and think about a 19-year-old with all that promise who was in a situation that results in this, his arrest and being charged with 3 felonies and being held on more than $500,000 worth bond. Just really, really, really disappointing and heartbreaking to read. But that's the news of the day in regards to LSU running back Trey Holly. We'll come back and close things out.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
One Bath and Closets. OneBathAndClosets.com is the website. Probably locked yourself into a really good interest rate. Refinanced a couple years ago. Not in a hurry to leave the home front, but maybe you could use some upgrades. David Duvall and his team should be the only call that you make. It's One Bath and Closets. David Duvall and his team have been doing it for 30 years, redesigning and remodeling bathrooms and closets. They can handle a full-scale closet renovation, full-scale bathroom renovation, or something very, very simple. Maybe it's just using your space more efficiently in the closet and just putting a couple of shelves, some racks, some different drawers, cubbies, and mirrors in. Simple. Maybe it's just a tub-to-shower conversion, which can be done in a couple of days. You won't know what they can do for you unless you get that free consultation. OneBathAndClosets.com is the website. You can read the testimonials, see pictures of their great work, get that free consultation with David and his team. It's all there at OneBathAndClosets.com.
Our listeners fire off their opinions on the jimsfirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the jimsfirearms.net hotline on 1045 ESPN Baton Rouge.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary, for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected. Supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team. And backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
It was a humid day. Barefoot children play. Looking for that summer shade. Time just slips away. Oh, Louisiana, some kind of hold on me. Like cypress stumps, your roots are planted deep inside of me.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
Breck teamed up to reimagine your parks, and you imagined big. With your help, we went to work, creating 12 beautiful community parks across the parish. A family-sized water park, miles and miles of trails, and parks just for your dogs. There are more places to splash, to explore, to run wild, and even soar. You imagined, we delivered. Gold. Breck, your #1 park system in the nation.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs. Even in the case of an after-hours emergency, the light in your life shines brighter with Mr. Electric.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona. For years, you've heard me tell you about Insurance Network of Louisiana, helping you find better coverage for less money. But it's not just for your home and auto. They also offer commercial property. So, retail stores, professional offices like doctors, dentists, attorneys, clothing boutiques. Insurance Network of Louisiana can find you better coverage for less money. They service the entire state of Louisiana, and they're local. So call Matt Moscona, inviting you to join us for Thursday's AFR. We are 1 day away from opening day at the box. We will have your full season preview and prediction for the defending champs. Join us, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Your national champion LSU Tigers open the 2024 season Friday, February 16th. That's tomorrow. And we'll be broadcasting live from the box from 7 to 10. Off the bench will be live from Championship Plaza. Then join Hunt for a special edition of the Hunt Palmer Show from noon to 2. Come out to Fan Fest presented by Coca-Cola at noon and stay to welcome the Tigers as they take the field for the first time this season. It's opening day at the box with 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Rouse's Supermarkets.
Get on by Rouse's. Going to be watching some baseball this weekend, watching some basketball, or just, you need some groceries for the weekend. Rouse's is always a great option. Download that Rouse's app. They make your curbside pickup so easy. Just get on the app, pick your items, set your time, have your personal shopper go do the shopping. They can bring it right out to you in front of the store. And if you spend $35, then you don't have to spend an extra cent on the curbside pickup. It makes shopping so easy over at Rouse's. They bring you our Thursday shows each and every week. As Beck just mentioned, we'll be just outside the box tomorrow. We'll have Cade Beloso at the top of the show. We'll talk to Jamie Tutko, who's LSU's director of player development as well as their video scouting. I'm fascinated to have a conversation with Jamie. I've never done that on the air, so looking forward to that. Doug Thompson's going to join us as well before he goes up and calls the game with Buzzy Heidel. We'll chat with Chris Demouy as well as we will every Friday, but we'll have Demouy. He's still 50-50 on whether he's coming to the box, but we'll still have him on the show tomorrow. So if you're coming out to Alec Box for opening day, come see us. We'll be just down the third baseline outside the stadium in the Tiger One mobile, and very much looking forward to that. Incidentally, Hester and the crew from Off the Bench will be out there 7 to 10 if you're getting out there super early and making a day of it. So hopefully the weather holds off. We're looking very much forward to being out there tomorrow. All right, back. Let's play some Take It or Leave It.
All right, first one here. Tiger Woods in his first round at the Genesis Invitational is currently even through 12 holes. Got some birdies, got some bogeys, and is tied for 50th. Woods will make the cut. Take it or leave it.
Elevated event. Is there a cut?
There will be a cut.
There will be a cut. It's tiny. Like you have to be way towards the bottom.
Yeah.
I still think he misses the cut. I'm in my betting against Tiger phase. I got there with Brady. I've got there with Belichick. I'm there with Tiger. I think Father Time is winning that battle. He doesn't play very often on tour. Riv's not very easy. It's an elevated field, so it's a lot of really good players. I think he'll still miss the cut.
All right, well, we talked about it yesterday, Hunt.
We did.
Detroit Mercy. The Titans were 0-26 and were 5.5-point favorites against the Fighting Ooey Pooies, who had won 6 games this season. And no one will be surprised to hear that the Titans got their first victory of the season and covered 81-66. It wasn't even close. They had one guy storm the court. Vegas is undefeated. Take it or leave it.
They're not undefeated, but they're pretty good. I mean, they were Detroit Mercy 0-26. They get the win, as you mentioned, with ease, and you did throw this in there, but it is worth just revisiting. They had one guy that, quote-unquote, rushed the floor.
Yes.
First of all, there's not really anybody there because they're 0-26 and they're playing on a Wednesday. And this guy, I think, had courtside seats, probably paid about $2.50 for those, I would imagine. And the clock hit 0, and he wandered out on the court, hands raised.
And realized no one was behind him.
And there's just nobody coming because... look, I don't think it's real pleasant in Detroit right now in terms of the weather. That's just a guess. It's February. Nobody's going to see
it's the house Dickie V. It's the house Dickie V built, though, huh?
Do we think that Detroit Mercy has peaked as a basketball program with that one guy who was about to break Pete Maravich's
Well, wouldn't it be Dickie V being their coach?
That's
I don't even know if they were good. I'm guessing he had to be decent. But they named the court after him.
Okay.
I'm sure that if he didn't have his success, with ESPN, that maybe they didn't.
I mentioned this yesterday, but it still bears a little bit more repeating. Like the fact that the Pistons and Detroit Mercy both had the longest losing streaks in their respective basketball leagues this year that's just a tough scene in Detroit. You couple that with the bitter cold winters and the Lions' heartbreak. Like it's been a tough go for the city of Detroit here over the last couple of months. Hopefully things pick up for the folks in the Motor City.
So I just looked it up real quick. Dickie V and his tenure at Detroit, they were just called Detroit at the time, not Detroit Mercy.
Okay.
They were an independent. He was there for 4 years. They went 17-9, 17-9, 19-8, and then his last year there, they went 26-3 and made it to the Sweet 16.
Woo! Dickie V.
So he got the team to one tournament.
That was the peak.
That was the
Sweet
peak.
16 was the peak.
Yep.
Not the guy running around trying to play in fake tournaments on ESPN, trying to break Pistol Pete's record with a COVID year. That was not the peak. All right, well, that's good to know.
All right, moving on here. Alec Box chicken tender baskets. Take it or leave it.
You got to take it. I would not suggest that the chicken tender basket at Alec Box is a South Louisiana cuisine staple. I think we've got our gumbos, our etouffees, we boil crawfish. We've got historic restaurants like Antoine's and Arno's.
And probably not a great value either. I'm guessing it's going to be like $20 probably.
Yeah, but it's an Alex Box chicken tender basket. It means the Tigers are playing. It means I'm at the box. There's a nostalgia factor for it. Whenever I was going to every game covering the team, I used to call it chicken tender basket Sundays. I would eat for free in the press box the hot dog or the nachos, whatever, for the most of the season. But on Sundays, I was going down to get the chicken tender basket. I might have one tomorrow. I cannot rule it out. I think it's possible. I mean, look, I'm probably going to eat before the show at like 11, and then we'll get up there at the box. I might have to go get a chicken tender basket. I love it.
All right, last one here. Center Field by John Fogerty. Take it or leave it.
I mean, you got to take it. Again, I don't think that's going to go up there with the greatest songs ever written.
No.
I don't think it's made the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
Well, Hunt, do you know what band John Fogerty was in?
Absolutely not. No chance
okay.
on that.
I think they're in the Hall of Fame. It's Creedence Clearwater Revival.
Oh, cool. I didn't know that.
They made
you learn something every day.
They made Fortunate Son, you know that song.
I know CCR.
Yeah,
I know a few, yes. And so John Fogerty branched off to create
did
this
his own
Outbox
thing,
classic. Yep. Incredible work. Yeah, I love that. I love Put Me in Coach. Oh, that is the same song.
That's the same song.
John Fogerty. What was the one I'm looking? Who wrote the one about the kid who strikes himself out pitching? Kenny Rogers.
Kenny Rogers,
yep.
yeah.
Okay, so yeah, I was mixing two up there, but center field, yeah, loved it. Nostalgia. And Alec Box had the same playlist for 25 years, and it's been fantastic for 25 years. I don't need to change it. I don't need laser light shows. I don't need anything more eccentric. I just like watching the Tigers come out there, play some center field. Right when they go take infield, they're going to play. I'll be doing my show when they do that, but I'll probably hear it, and that'll be great too. Can you tell I'm excited?
No, I can't.
I'm very excited.
You seem like you're just...
I will be a sad, sad boy if weather screws this up tomorrow.
Well, I haven't checked have you checked the forecast?
It's just kind of like it might rain. It's never like 92%.
Yeah.
It's never like thunder and lightning, and it's never 12% and sunny. It's just like 45% clouds. It might mist a little bit.
I've got 50% and
oh, good. That's a great
50%. Yeah, 2 o'clock 50%, 3 o'clock 40, and high of 66. Should be in the mid 60s. Great temperature, but just the rain could be a problem.
Yeah, for opening day, 66 is as good as you can ask for. I just wish that we were going to have a clean day of sunshine. That's not going to be the case, but that's okay because the Tigers are playing VMI tomorrow, and we have officially, on this show, branched the offseason. I guess Matt's still technically in the offseason, but this show is
done.
We're done. We're into game season mode. We're excited for a great show tomorrow. If you missed any of today's show, you can catch it on demand. 1045ESPN.com's on demand tab, Apple Podcast, Spotify, Google. Wherever you get your audio, you can get us. Wherever you get your video, YouTube-wise, you can find us. Hunt on LSU, Hunt on Saints. Always want you to subscribe to those as well. Thanks so much to our guests for hopping on today. Always enjoy our conversations with Luke Johnson, Joe Healy, and Chris Blair. Have a wonderful Thursday evening. We'll see you from the box coming up tomorrow. Special time, noon to 2. Hope to see you out there. Enjoy your last day without baseball.
He's here. Anyone want a Coors Light?
Oh, shoot, I forgot to play the song. I got a guy who can fix this.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Yo, Jake here from my friends over at Community Steel Company located in Gonzales, Louisiana. The local place you can turn to for all of your metal building needs. Notice I said local, not Houston, not Dallas, not Atlanta, but right here in Gonzales. Visit them at their brand new state-of-the-art website at communitysteelco.com or pick up the phone and give them a call today to answer all of your questions on your metal buildings, roofing and sheet metal, and any other steel needs you or your business need at 225-647-2020.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with